I think it's a huge statement on life that every day we get up and we face these hindrances and they hold us back. And if we just lean into them and if we just accept them, we can actually make progress. Maybe not at the pace we want to, but we can make progress. And it's worth it because at the end, you see this view at the top of the mountain and you didn't let the rain stop you.
You're listening to the Life Edge Podcast, the place to learn, grow, and succeed.
Matt, we're almost a third of the way into this journey of you cycling across Canada, raising money for charity. And I know that today was a pretty special day as you got to actually spend some time with the kids. So let's go ahead and start there and just tell us about that feeling, because not only when you got to spend time with kids, but I also know that you had some special friends and stuff that were with you today when you pulled up at the end of your ride. What was going through your head?
Yeah, we had another pretty rough day, and at the end of the ride, you always feel, I'm done, ready for bed, food, call it a day. You're just done, but you have made these commitments, so you pick yourself up. And of course, as you get closer, ultimately finally seeing the kids, you're instantly re-energized. So we went to a rehabilitation center here in Regina, Saskatchewan. They had kids ranging from probably 3 years old all the way up to teens. And what can you say? They're out there on a very hot day, so excited to see me pull in on my bike. We did a few laps. We had a race. And the ones that always grab my heart are the little kids, because the really small ones, they're special because they're just overjoyed to be on these bikes. Like, I can't express it. It's like they don't know what issues they may have or what they don't have. They're just overjoyed with what they do have. And as I say to anybody I talk to, it's a transformational experience, not only for me, but for them. These kids just, you'll see it if you go to my posts, you'll see the kids, the way they behave and act. It re-energizes me.
Yeah, it looked like you had quite a bit of fun today after your ride.
Yeah.
Why don't you give us a quick update for those that don't know what's gone on? I know we've talked a few times, but the first 10 days was just not what you expected it. And give us a brief update of from when you started to where you're at where you're at today with some of the challenges you've had to face, some of the good, some of the bad, and everything in between.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It's not getting easier because the weather and all the sort of elements that were there day one are still there. But now, of course, I'm dealing with 32 days of solid riding. And just to give you some statistics, of the 33 days now, I think it is, I've had 2 days off. So that means for about 30 days, I've cycled 100 kilometers or more. Of those 30 days, I've actually cycled more than 120 kilometers or more. I covered the same distance as the Tour de France does in the same amount of time, and I'm obviously not riding in a huge group, and I'm not as young as those guys, but that's how much we've covered, and that's the pace we're moving at. I'm currently sitting at about 5,500 kilometers traveled since I started this about 3 weeks ago, or no, a month ago. So we are moving not only across Canada, but we're moving across Canada at a very fast pace. But overall, it's a mental challenge more than anything else right now. It's just getting up every day. This is not just a cycling, it's a life around it as well, because you're coming into a hotel room, you're checking out of hotel rooms every day, and you're arriving in a new city.
So, of those days that you've ridden, how many of them have you had a support rider, and how many? It could be a good guess. How many have you had to ride solo?
I'd say I've had somebody on my side about 14 days, and the rest I've been on my own. So just under half I've been supported with riders, but just over half I've had to do the work on my own, and that's a pretty big deal because as soon as you expose yourself to the elements, the amount of effort goes through the roof.
What's it been like over these 33 days of you and your chase crew and just trying to stay friends and keep things going? What have been some of the struggles, but what have been some of the good parts as well?
Some of the struggles have been we've moved from Ontario, and for those of you not are from Canada, Ontario is a very rugged, big province, and we're now into Manitoba and Saskatchewan. They become very flat. The roads become very straight, no elevation, but heavy winds. And when I pulled into Manitoba, I was swarmed by deer flies. So the environment got easier in a way, but got so much more difficult in other ways. The second thing I noticed about Manitoba and Saskatchewan is because it is so flat, the roads are straight, there's not a lot of roads. It's heavy industrial traffic, so you're constantly being buzzed by massive semis. So that's been some of the challenges that have arisen or have changed, sort of progressed from one extreme of elevation to another, flat, but still new challenges are being introduced. On a good side, I've cycled across 6 provinces, and I think the second largest country in the world. Like, it's mind-boggling that this old guy that started May 20th, have cycled across 6 provinces, and I'm in my 7th, and by the weekend I'll be through my 7th, leaving me only 2 more provinces, and then I head north to the territories. It's mind-boggling. It really is, to think a person on his bicycle can do that in 32 days.
Do you know if anyone has ever done what you're doing?
There are people, obviously, that ride across Canada all the time, but it's typically done west to east because of the prevailing winds. So I'm doing something very much more difficult. But saying that, there have been people, I'm sure, that went east to west. What I'm not sure about, and we can't really find evidence of, is if anybody's cycled the extra 6,000 kilometers up to the 2 territories, Yukon and Northwest Territories. So I think if anybody has done it, it's very, very few, and probably not someone at my age.
What is it like? Because I have a feeling your days got a lot simpler. Like, life got a lot simpler to us in the sense that your job is just to get up and ride a bicycle. So
Yeah,
you have... Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say it's becoming it's becoming the norm, but it's monotonous.
But is it freeing in a sense, though, that you're not having to worry about anything else that, like, we deal with on a regular day-to-day basis, as far as the news or keeping up in social media or any of that stuff? Like, are you able to just set that aside and just be you, the bike, and the road?
No. I'm trying to raise money. So I'm obviously hammering social media quite a bit. I'm always seeking the next person to talk to, like yourself, Chris. I enjoy these conversations because you guys help me spread the message. And I'm also trying to fix myself. As you know, I have constant conversations with myself. I debate with myself where my life is, where it's going, what's the next chapter. I try to take my learnings and put them into digestible forms so that I can come out of this hopefully with something to share with people. And I've had realizations, massive realizations. You know, as an example, today I was riding, or yesterday when it was extremely windy, I remember pedaling, and I thought, I'm so angry, I pedaled harder. And the wind was still just as strong, if not stronger, because now I'm pedaling faster into it and I'm getting more tired. And I think my pace went from 16.5 kilometers per hour to 16.9 kilometers per hour. And I said, that's ridiculous. It's just not worth it. And then I realized, I remember hearing this Shaolin monk once talk about something called the hindrance. And if there's a hindrance in somebody's life, like rain as an example, they don't like rain, they'll never take the journey. They'll always stay inside and they'll never take the journey. You just have to accept that rain is rain. And it's always going to be there. You don't have to love it. You don't have to hate it. But it is going to be there. And you can't let it stop you from taking the journey because the view is so amazing. And I thought to myself, it's true. Because as I'm pedaling into the wind, I can't make it go away. I could get off my bike and not take the journey, put my bike in the van and pack it up. Or I can just accept that the wind is the wind and continue to pedal at a pace that I can sustain and realize that even though it's not fast, I'm making progress. And I think it's a huge statement on life that every day we get up and we face these hindrances and they hold us back. And if we just lean into them and if we just accept them, we can actually make progress. Maybe not at the pace we want to, but we can make progress. And it's worth it because at the end, you see this view at the top of the mountain and you didn't let the rain stop you. So these things come to me and I'm like, it's true. It's absolutely true. I hate it. I'm angry. I'm frustrated, but I have to accept it. The wind will always be there. The rain will always be there. But trust me, the journey's still worth it.
It's interesting to hear you say that from my part because I was talking to you. We've had several conversations before you started the journey, and then right before you left, we had a conversation, and then I think we had a talk like 10 days in, and then 19 or 20 days in. Now we're 30 days in, and I've really got to watch you kind of go through this transformation, where like. I would say the first 10 days, I would almost express what I felt was almost like this disappointment from you. Like, why is this so hard? This is so difficult. And then that 20-day period, you're kind of like, you know what? I'm over this, but I can't give up. I'm only 20 days in, but I'm really over this. And now being 30 days in, you're like, you know what? I'm accepting this. Life is difficult. The challenge is difficult. And you actually, like, you have a genuine smile on your face where some of those times it was like you've always had a smile on your face, but I think sometimes you just force it. You're like, I'm going to be happy right now. And like right now, you are genuinely happy.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because I found myself complaining too much to people when I talk to them. And I hate to think people believe that I'm being so melodramatic or negative because I'm trying to get people to feel sorry for me or I want a pity party. But on the other hand, I don't want to be overly polished how fantastic this is. I want people to know there's some real suffering going on here. And the suffering is real. It hasn't changed. But I guess at the end of the day, my biggest concern now is my body's ability to hold up. You know, if that takes me out, that takes me out. But I chose this, and I need to accept what is ahead of me, which is another 8,000 kilometers or 7,000 kilometers. Yeah, 8,000 kilometers. The wind's going to be there. The elevation's going to be there. I got told yesterday by my sponsor I'm likely going to hit more bears and moose when I hit to the mountains. So I can make a decision. I could quit or I could accept these facts and pedal into the wind. And I think the journey will be worth it if I can sustain my body. I do worry about my body a lot. I think we're getting about 5 to 6 hours of sleep if I get to fall asleep. And at some point, I may have to strategize a way to survive, which means stepping back or, slowing down or, maybe a day off that wasn't scheduled, but nothing crazy. I'll do what I need to do to continue to make progress, pedal into the wind.
Give us on like a scale to 1 to 10. Where is your body at right now?
I'd say surprisingly, my body, I would describe it as an extreme level of fatigue. There's a situation yesterday where Nicole found me. I was cycling down the highway and I call it, I got the fuzzy feeling. And I think it's blood sugar. Some people call it bonking. And I realized it was happening to me and I pulled off and she realized I had stopped because she's tracking me and she came back and she found me kind of leaning over my bike. So it's just fatigue. But the bigger issue is mental. Every day I wake up fearing something. I don't know if it's going to be extreme weather, extreme traffic conditions, my inability to get through that day. I wake up with some fear in my head that today's going to be a hard day. I never wake up going, this is going to be the best day ever. And I want to. There are some days when I look around. I was asked the other day by our videographer, he asked me something about something that I've really loved about this trip. And I said, well, number one was meeting the kids. And number two is Canada. It's incredibly harsh. And I'm riding through the heart of it right now. You go from moments of pure beauty to moments of pure harshness, whether it be isolation, steep elevation, extreme weather, and it changes. It can change so quickly. I'll be bundled up in the morning and absolutely baking by 2 p.m. So those are kind of, I think physically I'm doing better than I am mentally.
Mm-hmm. So with the journey that you have left, what's your biggest concern right now?
I see a long runway ahead of me. I'd like to say I'm 30 days in and I'm almost home, but I'm not even halfway, which is, it's shocking to think I'm almost 7 provinces across Canada and I'm just over a third of the way done. Like, it shocks me that I say that. And, the next segment is going to bring me closer to home and it's going to bring me closer to something I'm familiar with. BC and Alberta, but the big unknown's yet to come. I'm heading north, and that's where there could be 300-kilometer stretches where there isn't a store. There's not a gas station. So we'll see how that goes.
As you've been journeying across Canada, how have the people there accepted it? Are people curious what's going on? Are people there welcoming you? Or is it just they're honking at you to get off the road because you're in the way?
Well, a couple of really neat observations. The number of people honking at me in a nice way is going up, which means they're hearing about the event somehow. The number of interactions I have with media is increasing. I had another media interview today. But the weirdest thing that I've seen is the generosity from places you would not expect it. We've had it happen 3 times now where we were sitting on the side of a road, and I mean in an isolated, back road in farm country Canada. And a pickup truck will pull up, and it's a farmer, it's a dog, and it's an old pickup truck, and they'll get out and they'll hand us the single biggest roadside donation we've gotten. It's happened in the same way 3 times by individuals who you wouldn't think it was coming from, but I guess what I'm trying to say is it's coming from exactly where we should expect it to come from. These people are hardworking, they have great big hearts, and that's just blown me away. I take a picture with each and every one of them and shake their hands and say, you're a hero. Like, the donations they give me are they're not huge, but they're not small, and these are hardworking people. So That's what I'm starting to see. I'm starting to see momentum build. And I believe, Chris, if I can say this without sounding like I'm bragging, I think people are seeing something here and they're kind of scratching their head now going, what are these two jokers trying to do? I'm intrigued. I'm not fixated. I'm intrigued. How far has he cycled and who's this woman in the van? And I think by the time we hit BC, the whisper will be a little bit louder.
How's that make you feel? Because I know one time we talked and your biggest concern was that just nobody was hearing about it. But when you tell me something like that, that sounds like you're starting to make some noise and in a good way. And people are starting to hear about what you're doing.
I think so. I still have this worry that I'm not doing enough, and the message isn't being yelled out enough. But I'm now having to focus on surviving the ride, and I hope the story that is unfolding here will attract the attention that I think it deserves. The old movie, if they build it, they will come, from that baseball movie.
Field of Dreams. Yeah.
If I ride it, hopefully they will listen. And I really hope that people will start to see the suffering and the magnitude of what we're doing and realize this is much bigger than just some crazy guy on the back of a bike. It's a story, and I believe it's an interesting story, and I believe it's more interesting because this guy used to be 300 pounds, and he used to drink, and he used to smoke, and he's fighting daily to keep himself physically and mentally whole, and I think so many people could connect with that. So I really hope we're doing enough. I believe it's growing. Will it be as loud as I want it to be in the end? Maybe not, but I think we're gonna give it a good shot.
I'm just curious, what do you think you could do? How could you do more? Because you're already the guy riding 30,000 miles or 30,000 K across Canada. You got to spend 6, 7, 8 hours on a bike, and you have to have time to recover. What else could you ask from yourself?
It's just little things you realize after the fact. We had one of the farmers say today, you should have contacted our local media. I mean, their local media is probably someone in their kitchen doing a newsletter. He said, you should have let us know, we would have done a fundraiser for you. Who would have known that the small town in the middle of Saskatchewan, I mean small, I mean 7 houses, and the surrounding farms, they probably would have got together and did a weekend event and raised funds. We probably could have repeated that process 100 times across Canada. I didn't know, we didn't know there's these pockets of energy and positive giving, caring energy that we could have tapped into, but we're doing our best. We're trying to speak to as many people as we can as we go, and hopefully we're one step ahead, and the message will land before we get there. But I think now we're just keeping up. Like, we're literally landing in Regina and we're doing the interview. It'd be nice to have the interview before, but so that's probably what I would have done more. It would have been more on the administration side, but that's hindsight. It really is. But no, I couldn't do anything more right now. We're running 24 hours. We're pushing ourselves. There's not a lot more phone calls we can make, emails we can send. I think we're tapped out there.
Well, Matt, I think I don't want to keep you too long because I know you need to get to rest, and you and Nicole have a lot of work to do. But I just can't thank you enough. And if there's anything I can do or give the listeners a task, I'm gonna get this edited and out as fast as possible. So let us know how we can help you.
You're doing all you can, my friend. I appreciate the quality of the interviews you give or conduct. I appreciate the follow up content you create. It's high level. I think you may have seen I mentioned you on LinkedIn the other day. It truly is so great to work with people like you, and I don't think it will end when this event stops. I think there's some bigger things that are already going through my head. But if you can just make sure everyone that you know is aware of this, and I know sometimes it's very difficult to donate to charities outside your country, but if you let 100 people know in your region and they let 100 people know, they'll know people throughout Canada, and they'll know people that may be able to actually participate. So that's all. Just keep talking about us, and keep liking the posts, commenting on the posts, and sharing the information.
Awesome. Well, Matt, I can't thank you enough, and you got this. You're a different person already than you were when you started. I can tell just in the conversations we've had, and
And what
you're
about
you're
the
gonna
beard?
make it.
Is the
I
beard?
actually I'm really enjoying the beard.
You just heard Nicole off camera. We've had some debates on this one, Chris. I want it off, and she's like, no. I'm gonna
Well, I
force
get
couples.
I get the irritation of it, but it's telling a story in and of itself. You look like a guy right now who's done 30 days on a bicycle, so keep it up.
Okay, brother, I appreciate you, and let's stay in touch. My next milestone is probably how many days?
Couple of days.
A couple of days will be a next milestone. I think I'm almost at 5,000, so maybe we can schedule something as I head into the Rockies.
Perfect. I'm all for that.
All right, my friend, we'll talk real soon, and you keep healthy, and thank you very much again.
You as well, Matt. Thank you.